So I have a ton of unfinished projects. I have a Tunisian crochet cardigan that was based on MJ from Spider-Man. I have a scarf from my mom that I haven't touched in a couple weeks. I have a mood blanket that I started a couple weeks ago. I have Tanjiro's inspired cardigan that I haven't touched since my last patchwork cardigan video. I have a scarf for myself. I have a hat that I need to finish for my brother. I have 2 hats that need to be completed weaving in. And I have a sad, lonely cardigan sitting in the back of my room, never to be touched again. So what do you think the best course of action is for all of these unfinished projects that are collecting dust waiting for me to complete them? Start a new one, of course, because why not? In this video, I will be taking you throughout my process of creating something from scratch, and through the process of which I basically struggle for 5-6 days because I don't know what in the world I'm doing. But creating is a process, and I hope that even though you see all the mistakes in this video, you feel inspired in a way to make your own things, you know? So without further ado, let's get into the video. Before I went into designing what I wanted everything to look like, I already had an idea of what exactly I wanted to make. At first, it was a sweater, a tote bag, and a couple of beanies, but then I later downsized the projects to just the sweater and a tassel beanie. I didn't want to overload myself with a bunch of different projects, especially when I had little to no experience in making them. So I got to designing many different beanies and sweaters, playing around with random colors and random designs until I liked something I came up with. Plus I had like 2 hours before I had to go to work, so I tried to be as productive with my time as I could. So my camera died and I'm gonna just be using the front of my iPhone, even though it's horrible quality. But I just got a call saying that there's no work today, so I have more time to work on my design. The colors I decided to play around with were all based around the yarn I currently have, due to me not wanting to buy any new yarn for these projects since I kinda have a lot of yarn right now. So I was a bit limited on color schemes, but it was okay. I eventually got the groove of designing, made a new template for the sweater that was easier and prettier to work with, and eventually came out with designs that were pretty good to start with. So as you remember, it started out like this horrible one right here. I didn't really like it. I like the colors, but maybe I'll make it one day, who knows. And then it turned into this, and around this point I think I was just like adding colors at random places and dragging in and everything. Then I was starting to get somewhere when I made this one. This one looks a lot like a sweater I wore in high school, but I don't want to replicate anything in this video. I want to make a design from scratch. So I don't think I'll be doing this one for this video. And then I was like, it doesn't all have to be long sweaters, they could be cropped. So I was like, I started doing the rest of the designs in cropped. This was one of them. I thought it was cute. You can see over here the stripes are purple and white, just to give it a little more pizzazz. What if I add a collar to it? And I was like, this looks so much better. This looks really, really cute. I was just playing around. I don't really know if I like it. It makes me think of sauce or something, I don't know. But then the next one I think is the jackpot. I changed the black to like a blue, and then I changed each sleeve color, and I was like, okay, I like this one a lot. And so because I liked the collar, I was like, what if I made the sweater look like this? Okay, so this was the first idea that I had. It's just a basic tassel hat, but I think it's pretty cute. And then I was thinking about a lilac and white hat like this, and then like an overall white hat but then with color accents like this. And then just in case the tassel beanie won't work, I was thinking of just some regular two-tone beanies like this, and also like maybe a cat beanie. a chunky one though. Yeah, I'm gonna decide later. I have to go to the store and get my grandmother a birthday cake, and then I'm gonna take Maki to the park so she can run around because she's been sitting down the whole time while I was doing this and she seems really bored, so I'm gonna do that really quick, and then when I come back I will start working on one of the pieces, probably the sweater first. But yeah. After I got home, I went through the designs again and figured out which ones I wanted to choose. In order for me to choose which designs I actually wanted to do, I condensed the designs based on how much yarn of a specific color I had, and if a design I liked had a color with less yarn than I needed, I scrapped it and chose another. For the sweater, I literally had no idea how to make it, so I started by taking my measurements because for some reason I never write them down, but this time I wrote them down so I can skip this step when crocheting. After I took my measurements, I took the measurements of a sweater I really like wearing and then cut that in half due to the sweater I want to make being cropped. I drew out on the iPad the different pieces I needed to make, and then for some reason I noticed something that changed the way I looked at my sweater. Oh my god, I literally just realized, look, tell me this doesn't make you think of Burger King. If you tell me it doesn't, then you're lying. What do I do? It looks like a burger. Not wanting to come up with a new design, I began the back panel of my Burger King sweater. It was the front panel at first, but as I worked on it, the sun went away, and when the sun goes away, the camera goes away. So I didn't want to work on the collar part off camera. So I changed this to the back panel instead. For the front and the back panels, I chained 77 and used half double crochet. After making the chain, I stretched the chain out to the width that I wanted just in case I was going to make it too big for me, based on the measurements I took when I was making my crochet pants. The blue sections were all 3 inches wide except for the top blue section, which was 2 inches. For the 3-inch sections, there were 8 rows, and for the 2-inch section, there were 5 rows. For the stripes, each color only got 1 row, totaling 1 inch for all 3 colors combined. To add the stripes into the project, all I did was wrap the new color over my hook after the last half double crochet of that row, creating the chain, and then I turned the work over and started to crochet as normal. As I crocheted though, I made sure to keep the ends of the yarn that had to be weaved in with me so that I could weave it into the project as I went, making it easier for me towards the end. So as I half double crocheted, I basically just yarned over, put the hook underneath the ends that had to be weaved in, and then went through the loop. I then yarned over again, pulled through, making sure the ends that had to be weaved in were still underneath, and then half double crocheted as normal. I did it a couple times until I thought the ends were secure, and then I cut off the excess. Also, I want to note that I only weaved them into the side that would be the inside of the sweater. And to remember that it was the inside, I just added a stitch marker onto that side. It was pretty fun to work on, and I'm happy that I've gotten faster with crocheting so that it didn't take as long as it would have taken a couple months ago. I was also happy that I was challenging myself with something I've never done before, especially without a pattern of any sort. I was literally just basing everything off the cardigans I made prior to this, and of course later on I realized I could have just made the front and the back panels in the round to make it easier, but hey, you live and you learn. I also didn't record me finishing the back panel or the sleeves or doing half the front panel because I just wanted to get them out the way, and I wasn't sure if anyone wanted to watch a boring time lapse of me crocheting all night. Plus my camera dies every 2 seconds and my phone storage is the size of an ant, so I spared you. For the arms, all I did was chain 10 and made the wristbands based on my wrist size, which was back loop half double crochet until it was 2 inches wide. Then I attached the arm color and half double crocheted for 50 rows or 18.5 inches in length. I made an increase at the beginning of the arm because it looked smaller than my actual arm, so I increased on every other stitch until it looked like it would fit. After the arms were complete, it was time for the final boss, figuring out the collar and the button band. This took a little bit to figure out, and when I say a little bit, I mean a couple of hours. I didn't know what I was doing, but I mainly based the measurements off of the photo I drew. In the photo, I made the button band start on the second blue section, so I measured out how long it would be from the top and then and placed a stitch marker at the very center of the blue section. I then put a stitch marker on the second stitch away from the center on each side so I can have room to actually make the button band. And after that, I worked on one side at a time, finishing the pattern as normal until I got to around where the button band should stop. So remember how on my cardigan tutorial I said to leave open a square to add the collar? I thought, well, why don't I do the same thing here? So I counted the stitches, even though I literally already did that earlier and didn't remember until after counting the stitches, and then divided that number, which was 36, in half, which was 18, and then added another stitch marker to the middle of that section. Then all I had to do was work my way up until I completed the total amount of rows that were needed, which were 5 rows for 2 inches of blue. So after you finish that last row on that side, it should look like there are like 2 cliffs where you can fall off of, and you basically want to do the exact same thing on the other side. But before that, you make sure that the front panel with the cliffs align with the back panel. Right here, I got a big scare thinking I did the stripes all wrong, but then I realized that the back panel was just upside down. Silly me. Anyways, I was getting pretty excited at this point, but I didn't want to gas myself up because I still had to attach everything together and add the collar. Okay, so it was like 5 p.m. at this point, and I wanted to rush making the sweater so I can at least start the hat process. So I ate a couple bites of ramen and then got back to work. But of course, my camera died, so this portion was filmed on my phone. Since the sun disappeared once again, I decided this would be the right time to attach one of the arms and the sides of the sweater. To sew on the arms, I first closed the top half of the sweater, only the half that doesn't need the collar, and then I attached the sleeves to the armhole. In my last crochet tutorial video, I wasn't really specific with how I sewed things together, so I thought I would take the opportunity to do so now. So the way I sew everything together is I first take my darning needle and cut off a really long piece of yarn. Then I put the yarn inside the needle. Then I choose a place to start sewing. For this sleeve, I chose to start on the seam so that I can make sure the seam is right where the armpit would be located. So the first thing I do is slip the darning needle inside and then also slip it inside the armpit part, if that makes sense. Then what I do from here is whenever I sew, I make sure to go through the back loop of the piece farthest from me and then the front loop of the piece closest to me. This makes it so the seam doesn't show on the other side. I do this for the entirety of sewing the sleeve as well as sewing anything else that needs to be sewed. So again, I go through the front loop of the sleeve since the sleeve is closest to me, and then I go through the back loop of the body of the sweater since it's the farthest from me. I always make sure to sew on the wrong side or inside of the project so that when it's done, all I do is weave in the ends and then turn it inside out so that the right side is showing. After the arms were attached, it was time to officially start crocheting the button band and the collar. I used my patchwork cardigan as a reference really quick and then did it the exact same way as I did it for the cardigan. I made 2 button bands on both sides. One side has buttonholes and the other side needed to have buttons attached to it. Both button bands were slip stitched first, which took way too long to crochet into, and then I single crocheted until they were both 2.5 inches wide. I feel like I should have made them 3 inches instead, but it is what it is. I didn't have any buttons because silly me, forgot to get any, but luckily my sewing kit had some buttons and I had no choice but to use those. I made the buttonholes with only 1 chain, but even so the buttons slipped out easily, so I didn't really know what to do at that point, so I just left it as it was. After I finished the button band, I quickly did the collar and I had to hurry because of course my phone was dying too. And by the time my camera was charged, my boyfriend needed the tripod to stream. So the rest of the sweater making is just going to be filmed on my phone, so I apologize. But yeah, I finished the collar and the sweater looked actually pretty cool to me. It didn't remind me of Burger King anymore. That night, I decided to work on the hat. I just knew it was going to take me around 3 hours or so to finish it, and then I could get to editing the next day. I wasn't sure why I thought this when I didn't have an inkling as to how to make a tassel beanie, but I was like, hey, I took my head measurements, so I got this. So what I did was chained until it fit around my head, then slip stitched it into the round. After that, I half double crocheted and added the second color in and was enjoying my time until I realized the stripes weren't matching the photo and it was too small for my head. I couldn't actually tell if it was too small for my head because of how thick my hair is, so I just assumed it was too small and frogged everything. Okay, so today's the next day. I messed up so much yesterday and I had to scrap the project, as you saw. I ended up having to look up the magic circle beanie and how to do it, the pattern I used is in the description box below. It was a free pattern, and I ended up making a prototype for the hat that I want to make. This is the prototype that I was working on last night, and it turned out pretty good. And then I kind of figured out where I want I don't know what these are called, but I'm just gonna say panels. I decided on where the panels are gonna be and how long I wanted the tassel to be, but I have a couple of things that I need to fix on this, so we are gonna do that together. Because this was a good start, but it's not exactly what I wanted. And you know, I can't really try it on because I have a whole, you know, lion's mane on my head, so. Using the magic circle pattern I found online again, I started a new version of the hat, adding 2 extra double crochets to the magic circle so that it could fit my head, and it was going pretty well until the hat ended up being too freaking big. At this point, I didn't want to finish anything and literally delete my YouTube channel because of the failure that I was. But then I was like, why are you being so hard on yourself? You're going to make mistakes. You're a beginner. It happens. So I went back to the previous hat I halfway made, finished the other side panel thingy on it, and then added a better tassel to the end of it. After that, I looked at a tutorial on how to make pom-poms, and of course, my phone ran out of storage halfway through, so I have no choice but to end the creating portion of the video now. Okay, so here I have the hat that we completed. Yesterday I put on the poofs here. All I had to do was I tied the 2 ends of the poof right here twice, and then I just cut the ends off. And I did that with the other side as well. This is too loose for my liking, but it was my first time making this type of hat, so I'm gonna give myself a little break. But I do want to be able to perfect this type of design and everything, but unfortunately I can't put it on my head because, as I've said before, I have a lion's mane on my head, so this won't really, like, I'm gonna try. Let me try. I'm gonna try. Hold on. I'm gonna try. Okay, it actually fits. Oh my god. Okay, hold up. Okay, when I put it on, something kind of ripped. I don't know, but this is not bad. I would prefer if, oh my gosh, this is kind of cute. I would prefer if these flaps here were a bit wider, just a tiny bit wider and longer. So if I could get these flaps to maybe fall right here and then have the poofs longer. And also, if you can tell, this poof is longer than this one, so I want to be able to fix that. And of course, this shouldn't be happening, but wow, this is cute. Okay, I like it. It's not bad. I think I did a good job, even though if you look closely at it, there's tons and tons of mistakes. Yeah, I think it's cute. I want to make an outfit for it, but before I do like a little outro montage, I want to try on the main product. So I'm gonna try and fix my hair here really quick. This is the best it's gonna get. Okay, here we have the one and only sweater. I am excited to try it on. I put on these blue pants so that it would kind of blend in and give like a little chill, casual type of look, I guess. But here we go. I haven't tried this on at all, so yeah, here we go. Ta-da. Okay. It's kind of awkward, I'm not gonna lie. Let me button it up. Okay, this is what it looks like. It's a bit awkward in the armpit areas, mainly because I think because the arms don't go all the way in, but I don't think that should be a problem. And then this part right here, I'm kind of sad, I'm not gonna lie. I thought this would work, but it didn't. Visually, it's cute. but it's really awkward in the armpits, and I feel like it would get itchy right there. And then I really don't like how open my neck area is. Like I thought it would be like this or something like that. Oh well. But I tried, and I learned how to make a sweater in the end, you know. I have the measurements to make a sweater, just a basic sweater with maybe like a normal ribbing collar type of thing. And I know how to make arms, and you know, oh, what the, well, I guess we can go ahead and cue the styling montage now. Feel like falling deeper, cold nights 난 너무 싫어. 기다리기에는 너무 길어. 줬던 내 사랑이 식어. 기대만 하는 것도 난 힘들어. No, I can't, just can't. 가져 내 마음을, 놔줘 내 가슴을. This video feels so incredibly sloppy, and it's low-key kind of embarrassing, but I promise none of my videos will be this chaotic again, and I won't forget to take the camera out of manual mode either. So I appreciate you sticking this video out, and I will see you next week with another video. Bye!